Hi, I'm Talissa.
And I'm Rachel, and this is Transatlantic Crime, a true crime podcast that covers stories from each side of the pond. Every week, we will both cover a separate story with a running theme.
Disclaimer, this podcast will contain swearing and details that some people may find offensive. If you are of a sensitive disposition, listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Transatlantic Crime.
Crime. So close.
Okay, now I am recording.
Okay, good. Yeah. Did I tell you me and Carly booked a holiday?
No, where?
So I get this email, right? And it's called Jack's Flight Club.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like cheap flights that people find. And there was a holiday to a Greek island. And I was like, I've never been to a Greek island before. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Carly will come with me. Tom doesn't like the heat and never wants to go on holiday.
Really? No.
I know, right? But whatever. So I was like, like, Carly, do you want to go on this holiday? She was like, wait till I get home and like let me look at it before I say yes. I'm like, fine, square. So then she was like, where is it? I was like, okay, it's to the Greek island of Lesbos. Like, we are doing nothing to like quell the rumors.
Aw.
Yeah, it'll be really good though. And like, usually I don't want to go on holiday to an island because then you have to like fly to the place, then get to the island. And I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah.
But this airport is on the island.
Oh,
so
great.
I'm well up for it.
That's great.
Yeah.
When are you going?
So I'm seeing you in May and then I'm going to Greece in July.
Wow. It's going to be hot.
Yeah, just for a week. It's going to be really hot, which Carly's really into and I'm not. But like Greece is like the most ancient place ever. So it's going to have amazing history and like beautiful beaches. And I'm just going to wear a lot of kimonos. Like, it'll be
amazing. Fine. Yeah, that's going to be an amazing holiday.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Any holidays? Just me seeing you? Just me harassing you?
You're coming next month. And then I am possibly planning a girls' trip to Colombia in September.
Ooh.
Yeah, that'll be
like
exciting.
New York?
No, Colombia.
Where's Colombia?
The country.
Oh,
South America.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. That'd be so cool. What's in Colombia?
It's just another country in South America.
Old ruins.
I'm not sure. I'll find out and report back, but
that's how I love it when you're that desperate for a holiday. You're like, I don't give a shit what's there.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then I might have another trip planned to like Bali or Thailand. I just feel like I haven't been anywhere other than...
I'll meet you in Bali or Thailand.
Okay, great. Let's plan it. Let's do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Last time I went to Bali and Thailand, I had no money and it was the least fun ever.
And you were by yourself?
Yep, I was by myself. I made friends with some really boring girls who were like boring. They were the only people there and it was just fucking boring.
Aww.
Like, I had no money, so I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, except walk around and be...
I mean, obviously...
Were you like chased by a dog or something?
A little bit, yeah, in Thailand. Mm-hmm. And also, like, it's really dangerous, basically, on your own. Yeah. And I don't think I quite realised that.
Oh.
And so you can't go out of your hotel, really. Because, like, the signs don't even make sense.
Well,
if you're
to you as
an
English person.
Yeah. Yeah, like, they're not even... You can't even guess,
right,
like, what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
There's no pictures. Like, it's just an alphabet that I don't understand. So, like... It's quite scary, but if you stay in the thing is, like, a fancy hotel is like 20 quid a night.
Yeah.
But I didn't have 20 quid a night. I had like £3 a night. So that's the standard we're talking.
And why did you go at this time?
Because I was traveling. This is the first time I met you.
Yeah.
And then I went to Australia and I thought it was going to be really hot, but I went to Melbourne and it was fucking freezing.
Oh.
And I went to Adelaide and it was fucking freezing. And I was like, what? I was like, I want some pictures of me with like monkeys and palm trees and stuff.
Yeah.
And my friend Lorraine was like, well, you better go to Bali and Thailand then, because that's like the next spot.
Yeah.
That's
You'll
near.
get those guaranteed
So I was like,
there.
okay. Yeah. Then when I got there, I was so sweaty that I just had constant chub rub. Like my thighs were like on fire the whole time.
Yeah. Oh.
And I was like trying to enjoy this really cool monkey forest, but I was like, I can't walk anymore. And I was just drenched with sweat. So like I feel like this time I'd be better prepared and have more money.
Yes,
So,
definitely. And you'll have someone with you.
Yeah. I would definitely go with someone else. But like I had no money, right? But I had enough money for a beautiful hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So I just sat in my hotel and got drunk on my own on Chang beer and watched the tropical storms out of my window. It was really nice.
Still really nice. I would be happy
It was still
with
really
that.
nice.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any of the country.
Yeah.
Like at all.
What part
So
were
that was
you
kind
in?
of sad. I went to Phuket.
Okay.
But I was just trying to get home.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to get closer to home than Australia.
Oh.
So that was closer.
And have warmth.
Yeah. I tried to make friends with these German people and they just looked at me like I was either a sex worker or a maniac.
Oh.
I was like, so what you doing? They were like, on holiday. What are you doing? I was like, going away now.
I feel like maybe a German couple would be the last people to make friends with. They wouldn't understand maybe the humor of the situation.
Like,
or
what do you want?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, they just didn't like me. And I was like, okay, I tried that. Let's just go back upstairs and drink some more beer.
Oh.
That didn't work.
Oh, man. Well, let's try round 2. We'll plan that.
Yeah.
We have a couple of announcements, right?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Okay, well,
you go.
The first one is we're going to start changing it up for the next while because I think me and Talissa need a little bit of a break, but we still want to provide stories for you guys. So we're going to, maybe for the next couple of months, we're going to be splitting up the episodes. So each week we're still going to do the same format, but I'm going to tell a story one week and Talissa's going to do a story the following week with the same theme. And
yeah.
We're not going to do that today. We're going to give you guys what you're used to today, but starting next week, we don't
want to pull the rug out from under you, but
yeah, starting next week, we're going to start doing that. Yeah, let us know what you guys think. We do want to hear what you guys think of our storytelling in our episodes, and if you want more, if you want less.
People are never going to want less. Come on, Rach.
I don't know. I saw a review somewhere. Maybe it was in the magazine that we were in or an Instagram that reviews podcasts. And it was like, oh, because you guys are over an hour, then some people might be put off from that because people like to listen to podcasts in their hour lunch and we go over that time, which I don't mind.
You can split it up.
Yeah.
You can split it up.
You can
like a series. You don't have to listen to the whole thing.
Exactly.
But
press pause.
Yeah, it's a thought.
Yeah.
It's a thought.
We do welcome those kinds of thoughts and reviews from our active listeners, from our regular listeners. So let us know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, say whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, when Game of Thrones ended and nobody had a say in how shit it was?
Yes, we are
This
not
is like
Game of Thrones.
the opposite of that. Like, we aren't HBO. Like, you're speaking directly to the maker here. So just go for it.
And we make our episodes every week and we do it down to the wire. So if we need to make a last minute change.
Oh, good Lord. I was writing this story a second ago.
Yes, and I edit and then I immediately put the episodes out because it's already 8 a.m.
So that's
in
the
England.
kind of seat of your pants action you're getting.
Yeah. All that to say that if you want to change, if listeners want something, then you might get it within the same day or week that you ask for.
You really will.
Yeah.
Okay, have we got any recommendations? We'll do a quickie recommendations. Have you got any? Been watching anything?
I have been watching American Crime Story Impeachment.
Oh, I really want to see that.
Yeah. It just got put out
Who's
on
playing
Hulu.
Bill Clinton?
It's Clive Owen. He's pretty good with the voice.
brilliant. I definitely want to watch that because obviously the OJ one was fucking great.
Oh, man.
Even though the guy who played OJ looked nothing like him.
Cuba
But
Gooding
Ross from
Jr.
Friends was fucking great as Kardashian.
Yeah.
And Johnny Cochran looked just like him. Like Marsha, she was the prosecution. She looked just like the real lady.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was some good casting. The impeachment of Bill Clinton, they tried to make it happen.
Yeah.
I remember I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I remember that. It's like the soundtrack of my childhood.
Yes, exactly. I remember my parents shushing us all and like making us go into another room so that they could watch that on TV, like the whatever it was, live thing. And
you didn't hear about Spunk Dress when you were like 12.
Way. I think I was less than that. What was it? 1997, 96? I was maybe like 9 or 10. So I was definitely too young to understand what the blue dress meant.
He did what on her what now?
Yeah. Yeah, so
he totally did.
I am learning so much from this that I had no idea. But they do one thing that I will say about the show, and Monica Lewinsky was a part of making it. Like it is basically from her account. But how much she pursued Bill Clinton, it wasn't just like him coming on to her.
She wanted to fuck the president.
She really did. But they also discuss her history and like why she was this way. She was sexually abused by like 2 other teachers when she was a kid, and I had no idea. So obviously her being 23 years old and President Bill Clinton being like in his 50s, it was the same kind of issue thing. Same kind of pattern. So I'm learning a lot. I would definitely recommend it. It can be a little bit slow in the middle, but I am just about to finish it, so I would say it's worth it.
I just think I've heard a lot of bad things about Bill Clinton, which I'm not a fan of because A, he's a Democrat and I don't want to believe Democrats do anything bad ever, even though they clearly do.
Yeah.
And like B, he did a lot for women's rights, which is super annoying because he could not keep his dick in his pants. And there's loads of rumors of him actually raping people.
Yeah. He was friends with Jeffrey Epstein.
He's a fucking sexual deviant.
He is. And they even make a point of that in the show where one of his advisors say, you are not helping women. And then Bill Clinton goes on this huge rant of like how many women he's appointed in office and how many women were the first to be appointed in office under his presidency. And it's true. He did do that for women, but it's like, were you doing that because
at what cost?
Were you making up for the things that you felt guilty for? Like, just because you're a saint in that aspect doesn't mean that you can be absolved of the other things that you've done and probably have continued doing.
It kind of reminds me of the fact that Jimmy Savile did shitloads for charity.
Oh yeah, talk about that. I know you've been watching that.
The Jimmy Savile show. Have you watched it?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, well, it starts off really innocent. It's a 2-parter. And in the first section, they're literally just like dissecting how he got to fame. They constantly pick out really creepy stuff that he said that in the context it's in, it is creepy, but people just laugh it off. But now you know what he did. You're like, fuck.
It truly
how did he not get caught?
Yeah.
He's a fucking monster. And there's also 2 really annoying bitches on there who don't believe he did what he did.
What?
Like, one of them is his biographer, and she's a bit like, I didn't want it to be true. And then another woman who is also in the Louis Theroux documentary about Jimmy Savile, she's like, I never saw him do anything horrible. Oh, well, he must be innocent then.
Yeah, I hate when people say that.
Like, so fucking annoying. I'm like, what? How can you be in such denial? There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that have come forward.
Yeah, evidence.
Yeah,
witnesses.
We should do a special on that because fuck, it is so long. So much stuff to dissect.
How different is it from the Louis Theroux documentary?
Extremely different in that you get Louis Theroux, in his original documentary, obviously Jimmy Savile's crimes didn't come out until he was dead.
Mhm.
So at that point, they were just rumours. There's so many journalists that like approach him and try and tackle the, you know, in air quotes, rumours of him liking little girls. And they say, what do you say about these rumours, Jimmy? And he always gives like really weird answers. Like he says to Louis Theroux in the documentary, like, Louis Theroux goes, why do you say that you hate kids? Because he did a show that was for kids called Jim Will Fix It. That was like where kids wrote in and said they wanted, I want to fly a plane. And they would like literally just let them sit in a plane cockpit or whatever. But he said, why do you say you hate children? Because you did children's shows for ages. And Jimmy Savile says, oh, because, you know, otherwise people accuse you of stuff that clearly isn't true. He's just so evasive and weird and threatening and gets really angry, and then people move on because they're scared.
Right. And that's what they show in the Louis Theroux documentary. And obviously in the most recent BBC, it's BBC, right? What is it called?
No, sorry, it's Netflix, and it's called Jimmy Savile, A British Horror Story.
Okay.
Which could not be closer to the truth. Like,
yeah.
It's really interesting. He has a really close relationship with Prince Charles, which is our future king. So that's not cool.
Yeah. I'm sure he knew Prince Andrew.
100% knows all the royal family.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Also, him and Margaret Thatcher were like, it looks like they were totally banging. Like,
really?
When you see footage of it.
Oh, I don't want to ever have to think about that.
Isn't that the worst combo of people? Yes. You can imagine bumping uglies.
No, stop it.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that like maybe in a Patreon special, because it's really in depth and there's so much stuff I want to talk about.
Yeah, and we are 100% are going to talk about Phoenix Rising, the Evan Rachel Wood documentary, because that was amazing. And
oh my god, it's so good. Female directed, yes. We're going to save that for our Patreon episode. We'll talk about that another time. So sign up to Patreon. Yeah. Yes, do so. Also, I have been watching Westworld. Oh. I've just started it.
Nice.
I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
And she's like one of the main characters in it.
She's so good. I love her. Yeah. Her storyline gets better and better, and I can't wait for you to watch it all.
Yeah. Me and Tom are watching that together. We finally found something that we both don't hate. So that's good.
Yay.
Okay, so shall we introduce our theme for this week?
Yes. Our theme this week is The Neighbor Did It. And I have such a story.
A humdinger, is it?
A humdinger. Okay. Let's get into it. I'm not going to tell you the title of my story, but I am going to say that if you're in America, there's a whole show on this theme called Fear Thy Neighbor. It's on the ID channel. If you love true crime,
seen it, loved it.
Yep. You probably already know about it. But they did do an episode on this story, on my story, called Tunnel of Hate.
Fuck.
Gives a little bit of a clue to what happens.
Wow.
And then there's also another episode on HBO on a show called Autopsy, called The Case of Roy Kirk. So there's two different episodes that you can watch on this story if you are interested after you listen to mine.
I'll definitely listen to the HBO thing.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
In 1997, Ann Hoover was a 44-year-old marketing director and piano teacher living in Oakland, Pennsylvania. She had great pride in her home she recently bought on Lawn Street, a home she had rented for 10 years and then bought from her landlord. Obviously, she loved this house. She remodeled
She's killing it as well.
She is killing it, yeah. I think she was just single lady, loved her home, loved her job, loved her life, loved her family.
Yeah.
So she remodeled the home, and in her words, she made it gorgeous.
Oh.
Honestly, 44 years old, this is probably me in like 10 years.
I can't wait. That sounds like I'm a marketing manager now. I hope to be a marketing director at 44, and I hope to learn piano. So great.
She came from a loving family. She was the oldest of 3 children, and her parents were Thomas and Margaret Hoover. She had just come back from a trip to Europe. Apparently, her dad said it was like a music trip, so she was just touring different, I think, musical locations around Europe.
How lovely.
And she had a poodle named Nikki, and she was an active member of the Oak Cliff Housing Club, a club that maintained the neighborhood. So they just made sure that the neighborhood was nice.
Charming.
Charming. Truly, I can see myself being this person in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
A dog.
Yeah.
Love my house. Playing the piano. That's it.
Yeah.
However, next door to Hoover was a dilapidated house, and there was sort of a guy that lived there. I don't mean sort of a guy. I mean like he sort of lived there.
I know what you meant, but also I kind of don't know what he sort of lived there means.
Well, I'll tell you.
He's a squatter.
No, he wasn't a squatter. His name was Roy Kirk. He was 28 years old. He bought this home around the same time as Hoover, maybe a little bit earlier or after, although she did live there for 10 years. So she was really excited when he bought the house because he owned a company apparently called Tardigrade and Company, in which he bought older dilapidated homes at sheriff's sales, and then he would supposedly flip them. So up until that point, he had owned, or he had bought about 8 houses under sheriff sales. And if you don't know what sheriff sales are, I looked that up and I will tell you. Do you know what a sheriff sale is?
No. Is it where your house has been repossessed, or
a little bit past that point? I wanted to include this point because I wanted to see if you guys have anything like this in the UK. So a sheriff sale is a public auction at which property that has been defaulted on is repossessed. The proceeds from the sale are used to pay mortgage lenders, banks, tax collectors, and other litigants who have lost money on the property. Sheriff sales happen at the end of the foreclosure process when the initial property owner can no longer make good on their mortgage payments. They can also occur to satisfy judgment and tax liens ordered by a court. So I guess it is kind of a repossessment to the bank and then they sell it, but they sell it kind of at a fraction of the price. They're a lot cheaper because by that point, the house hasn't been taken care of. There usually needs to be a lot of work done, so they sell it for cheap. Do you have anything like that over there?
I think, yeah, you can buy houses at auction and they're usually a piece of shit. So I assume that's what's happened. Yeah. Although I've never bought a house. I've never even been close to buying a house. And if I was to buy a house, it wouldn't be like that. So I don't know. But there's probably people in the UK that do know. So if you do know, then you could tell me and Rachel.
I feel like now I could probably afford... No, I couldn't. I couldn't afford to buy any piece of property right now. But when I do, especially in LA, it'll be something like that because it'll be so cheap.
Yeah, do-a-upper.
And yeah, you got to do it up. That's what a sheriff sale is. And Roy Kirk bought about 8 different houses around Oakland or Pittsburgh that he was going to fix up and then flip.
Okay.
Hoover was at first excited when Kirk bought the house, happy that someone was going to start fixing it up. She even invited him to meetings at the Oak Cliff Housing Club, to which he became a member. He would take the meetings really seriously. They said that he would furiously scribble notes during every meeting. Also, there's a picture of him, and I'm not kidding. He looks like Charles Manson.
You're never judgmental either, so that's really funny. I'm like, he looks like scum.
Yeah. I mean, during this whole thing, and she looks like very lovely. She looks like a piano teacher, just like nice, long brown hair, nice face. Normal. Yes. Yeah. Dog named Nikki.
Someone who has their shit together.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And next door is just this man.
Charles Manson.
Just Charles Manson. Crazy eyes, long hair, facial beard, mustache, everything.
Bit unkempt.
At least towards the end, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so he would take those meetings very seriously. He would scribble notes during every meeting. Shortly thereafter, he was even elected president of the club. So people took him seriously. He was...
Sure, if you care that much.
Yeah. They said he was...
Have at it.
He was a bit of an oddball, but he still took things seriously. At least it seemed that way.
Fine.
Yeah. Ann Hoover was happy at first. So Kirk was quick to start the work on the house, ripping out the walls, rotten plaster, and broken beams, and he would throw the trash outside the house. Hoover thought that maybe the roof should be started on first. Cosmetically, it was missing tiles, and there was holes in the roof, and surely it was not great for like rain and stuff like that. Also, this is in Pennsylvania, where if you watch like Mayor of Easttown or it's like houses that are connected by walls.
Yeah.
There's no space in between them. And they're probably...
every house in the UK is like that, yes, pretty much.
That too, yeah. You're right. But like in this specific...
It's called terraced. And it's all we have, unless you're rich.
I think they call it something different on the East Coast. I didn't grow up on the East Coast. And they don't really have that here in LA unless you live in an apartment. So I can't think of the name that it's called here.
Okay.
Anyways, that's what kind of house they had. They shared the wall. And so she was pretty unhappy with the roof because obviously that affected her side of the house. When she first approached Kirk politely to give him recommendations on a roofer, he told her that he was on a budget and he would be doing the roofing himself soon. So she left him alone. However, with Kirk tearing things down in his house, and then he would throw out the trash, he also like boarded up the windows and he left the roof to sit. Because he had 8 other properties and nobody really knew where he lived, he was barely at the house. So it was like nothing was being done, and the house started to look worse than when it did in the first part because there's trash everywhere and there were new holes in the walls. And his porch also connected to her porch. So she was just like, this isn't safe. This doesn't look good.
Annoying.
Yeah. Also, this is one of my worst fears of buying a house and not knowing who your neighbors are.
Next to a cunt.
Yeah. Or like somebody who doesn't stay clean and they have like a rat infestation and then it moves over to mine. Or they have like a really mean dog, or their kids are really
Bad
loud.
neighbors are the worst because it's like you have to move.
Yeah.
One of you has to move.
Right.
That's the only solution, really.
But that's what I mean. Like, for millennials, like, we know how hard it is to buy a house right now. Like, you save up the perfect amount of money. The housing market is really hard right now. You have to, like, fight to find your house. You find your dream house. You fix it up. It's beautiful. And then you find out your neighbors are horrible. It's my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Because you can't move.
Uh-huh.
You can't. You've just spent all this money.
I can't even think about getting to the buying stage, so that's not even a worry for me. But yeah, I can imagine. My ideal neighbour is don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. Like, oh, we've got a neighbour who, like, I swear to God, every time I walk out the house, he's there. And I'm like, oh.
Just watching.
No.
But it's like a dull future panic that I have.
To add to the pile.
To add to the pile of anxiety. So all this is going on. The house is starting to look worse than it did when it started. Hoover began complaining to Kirk more, this time not so politely. When he began ignoring her complaints, she took them to the Oakland Housing Club. Kirk was soon removed as president of the club, obviously.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was dramatic, but he still remained an active
he's not
member.
There.
I think he would still make it to meetings. He just wasn't at the house very often.
Geez, just obviously like the power.
Yeah. During that same time, Hoover grew very concerned one night when there was a heavy storm, and that storm caused water to pour into Hoover's bedroom from Kirk's roof the next door. So, yeah. She was very unhappy with that. She confronted Kirk the next day, to which he took it badly, reacting with anger. Hoover felt she had no other option and made a formal complaint to the housing authority in the district, stating about the roofing, and she had also noticed from all the trash outside that there were rats. There was starting to be rats from the trash.
Yeah.
The housing club also supported her in this. The dilapidated house was causing the neighboring house prices to go down. A housing inspector arrived the next day, issuing Kirk with several orders to fix the safety issues in his home. So he wasn't very happy, neither was she. His anger is growing. However, Kirk never did any further work on the home, barely making an appearance at the house at all, according to Hoover and the neighbors. So even though she felt guilty, Hoover took him to court. In 1996, the court case proved a success. After neighbors gave evidence, a judge sentenced Kirk with fines and said that the house should most likely be demolished.
Ooh.
Yeah. People at this
That's
time
bad.
noticed that Kirk's mental health was declining. I think this is when he starts looking like Charles Manson a little bit.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
He's obviously got money, though.
Well, I couldn't really find out where he got his money from, but I think he must have got like a big chunk of money, bought a couple of different properties, and then probably ran out of money or felt like he discovered that he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle 8 properties. Like maybe buy one.
He's taken on too much.
Yeah. Buy one and then
Yeah.
do that one up and then move on to the next one. So I think he just...
Sensible advice, Rachel. As ever.
Yeah. Bit off more than he could chew, I think. So yeah, they noticed that his mental health was declining. During one of the court proceedings, he showed up with a bandage wrapped around his head and his leg. When the judge asked him, he said he was shot, but he was still okay to go ahead with the proceedings. The judge was like, "Are you okay?"
Around his what? Around his head?
His head and his leg. He had bandages around his head and his leg.
Okay.
And he said he was shot, but he was fine to continue with the proceedings. And then the neighbors were like, okay. And then they looked into it and they said there was no police records of Kirk ever being shot or anything like that.
Pretty easy to find out if that's a lie.
Yeah. So even though the judge ordered these fines and said the house should be demolished, Kirk appealed the decisions. So that kind of gave Anne and the neighbors the impression that that was going to give him time to like fix up the home and like kind of comply so that he could go ahead with the appeal and maybe win an appeal to not have it demolished. So the neighbors and Anne waited for the day of the appeal, which was March 25th, 1997. They first went to court, I think, around September 1996. So the appeal was March 1997. So he had about a good 5-6 months to get things together.
Yeah.
Much to Hoover and the neighbors' disappointment, Kirk was barely seen at the home leading up to the appeal. Until the day before, Kirk showed up at his house. He was heard knocking through walls. It sounded like he was possibly working on the basement. Meanwhile, Anne arranged with her neighbors to be picked up the next day to be taken to the courthouse for the appeal. They said that she was kind of nervous. She like played her piano to make herself feel better. She could hear all this noise going on, so she was like trying to play the piano to drown out the sound. She also said after the court proceeding in September that she thought maybe she should get a protection from abuse order against him because she didn't trust him. And some of the neighbors were like, yeah, I don't blame you. He is kind of an oddball, but it should be fine.
Yeah, and you're a woman living on your own, and that unless that poodle's a big poodle.
Yeah. So yeah, she made an arrangement for her neighbors to pick her up the next day to go to the court appeal. Anne Hoover never made it to the appeal. When neighbors went to her home the next morning, she did not answer the door. The neighbors went to the courthouse expecting that maybe Hoover went there on her own. She wasn't there, and neither was Roy Kirk. So one of the neighbors, her friend Rose Liptak, went back to the house to check up on her. When nobody answered the door, she immediately called 911. I think everyone was worried at that point.
Yeah.
Police arrived at Hoover's home within minutes, opening the door with Lip Tac's spare key that Hoover had given her. They entered the house and noticed that Anne's keys, wallet, and court documents were lying on the hall table. When they searched upstairs, they saw a spot of blood near the bathroom, but they could not locate Anne. So obviously they went next door. The front door was just left ajar. They walked in and they located Roy in the basement. He was extremely disheveled with dirty trousers and he had some blood on his shirt. The police officers walked him outside while they searched the rest of the house. They went back into the basement.
Never go into the basement.
No. Thinking they had located a mannequin with no arms or legs in the corner of the basement.
Off.
Yeah.
It's never a mannequin.
It wasn't a
Even
mannequin.
when it has arms and legs.
It wasn't.
Oh.
It was the body of Anne Hoover, dismembered.
Oh.
Yeah. Kirk was arrested on the spot, it taking 4 police officers to handcuff him as he fought them aggressively. Again, imagine like Charles Manson, just completely disheveled, dirty, bloody, crazy eyes, fighting off 4 men.
Oh, it tasered that fucker.
Yeah. Kirk was placed in the police car and police left him there and they continued to search the home. When they found an extension cord from the house down the street to another property that he owned, he had been stringing extension leads down the street for electricity in that house.
Daisy chaining like a motherfucker.
Yeah. In the house, they found several cages with dead mice and rats in them. In the bathroom, they found a python in a cage, and it was very hungry.
Nope.
You've
got loads of rats.
Yeah. It feels like he just like left this house and would just stop by every once in a while. Probably because she was always there too, like saying like, hey, what's going on with the house? He probably went there even less than he wanted to or was supposed to. And he had that pet python there.
In the bathroom.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There was one article that alluded that he was possibly dismembering her to feed the python. Like that's why he was dismembering her.
Oh, God.
Further into the search, they found a hole between Kirk's and Hoover's home, a hole that Kirk had carved that night to get into Hoover's house.
That is nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
That's like people living in the attic stories that I fucking hate.
I can only imagine her thinking like, oh great, he's at the house, he's doing some work. Finally, the night before the appeal, I totally get it. Maybe he didn't have time. And then all of a sudden you start hearing this crash through your own wall, see a hole, and he's there and you're like, oh, it's like if that were me, I'd be like, did you accidentally do this? And then he starts coming into my house. That's terrifying. And
I don't know if I'd be there. Maybe she's brave or whatever, but like if I saw him come back and he's a fucking psycho, I might wait for the appeal and see what happened and be like, I'm staying somewhere else for a little bit until this appeal comes through.
I get where you're coming from, but I also think if I had put all of this work into my own house and there's potential that somebody is going to ruin it because I'm not home, then I would want to stick around to, although, like, ask for someone to come over.
Will you stay with me because the guy next door is a psycho?
Right. Yeah. So,
or you sleep with a fucking machete next to your bed, or a gun, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they also couldn't really tell what time this had happened. It could have happened in the evening. Maybe she wasn't in bed yet.
Maybe he snuck up. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. When they came back to take Kirk to the police station for further questioning and to charge him, he was found in the back of the police car, dead. He had hung himself with his own belt.
How the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
That is ingenious.
And
like, if nothing else.
That is why you should watch the autopsy episode called The Case of Roy Kirk. on
I did
HBO.
not see that coming.
Season 5. It explains how it
Yeah.
happened because the people who handcuffed him did everything correctly. He was handcuffed behind his back. He was placed in the car.
Wow.
They didn't do anything that would have, or that they thought would have allowed for him to do something to himself. But he still managed to hang himself with his own belt in the car.
Like when people hang themselves with like bed sheets or I don't know, stuff like that, I'm like, that seems difficult. But like a belt, you can proper crank that and it's leather.
Right.
So like I can see how you could do it if you had a belt.
But
You could pull it really tight and then like leave it and it would strangle you on its own.
But in handcuffs and you're in the back of a cop car.
I know.
Kind
and
of
a
insane.
Seatbelt.
Yeah.
That is a feat of engineering.
Right. You wouldn't think it would, if you were one of those police, that wouldn't come into your head.
No. When has that ever happened before?
I don't
Not
know.
that I've heard.
I don't know. So, investigation into Ann Hoover's murder after both deaths showed that Kirk knocked a hole between the two properties, entered Ann's house, and knocked her unconscious. He dragged her into his property where he strangled her with an electric cable, and then that's where he dismembered her body. So that was her cause of
she
death.
just got knocked out and that was it. Like,
Yeah.
she didn't know anything else.
Right. But the strangling was her cause of death.
Yeah.
Anne's family were devastated. Her mother and father grieved and spoke to the press about it. They talked about how beautiful she was and how wonderful she was. In one of the articles, her dad could barely speak to the press. He was like, I just dropped her off to the airport to go on a European trip, and he just couldn't continue from there. Her mom said that she forgave Roy Kirk. I feel like that's very lovely of her, but yeah.
Jesus, that's big of you.
Yeah. Her younger brother said that he was happy that Kirk killed himself because he would have done it himself.
That's more my attitude.
Yeah. Exactly. That was totally left field, but that just reminded me of a dream I had last night where somebody was like doing something to one of my sisters, and I was like, I am going to kill this guy.
You have got some pent up rage.
I do. Maybe that tells you what I would have done in this situation as well. I probably would have taken the brother's side as well.
It's the quiet ones you got to watch, Rach.
Yeah. In 2001, an Oakland resident, Marianne Anderson, donated 5 acres of her property to be made into a community park. Marianne knew Ann Hoover since she was a child. Hoover was her babysitter, and they remained friends into adulthood. So when Marianne donated the land, they dedicated the park to Ann Hoover, naming it after her. Marianne said, the park should not emphasize Ann's death. Rather, it should celebrate her life and all that she stood for. So, on June 1st, 2002, on what would have been Ann's 50th birthday, the community gathered at Ann Allison Hoover Memorial Park to celebrate Ann's life. And that is the story of Ann Hoover and her crazy neighbor.
Wow. I've never heard that.
Me neither.
And I thought I'd watched all of those programs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll definitely watch the HBO thing. That was fucking nuts.
I should say that the Fear Thy Neighbor episode, they changed the names in that story because the family had asked that they changed the names.
Aww.
So, yeah.
That's sad. Yeah, my thing is, like, neighbor stories are fucking scary because it's like, again, it's like the that Netflix documentary was about someone being a roommate.
Yes.
What was it, like, worst roommate ever?
Yeah.
And like the first episode was about Dorothy Puente, and I was like, okay, 1, she wasn't a roommate, she was a landlady.
Yeah.
And 2, everybody knows that story. Like, what are you doing? But then after that, it got really good. And like the last 2 episodes are about fucking crazy guy.
Okay.
And it just made me think, like, imagine if this has never happened to me, but like, imagine if I know people it's happened to, they live with somebody who's fucking nuts and like ruins the house for everybody in a shared house.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember,
which has got to be the worst.
I remember being at uni and like, you know how the first year they just place you wherever. You have no idea
Yeah.
who your like flatmates are or anything like that.
Yeah.
I had some weird flatmates, but they weren't like terrible. But I remember one of my other friends had just he was so weird, and he ended up like leaving 3 months into us being in the first year of uni, and it was like, yeah, that checks out. Like, no wonder
Thank
he
God.
left. Exactly. Thank God that you don't
Yeah.
have to deal with that.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people were not meant to like live with other people.
Or go to university by themselves. Like, have some
Amen to that.
parental supervision or something, and like
Forever.
gently ease them into the university life, not just like, oh, there you go, have at it.
Yeah, like I've got friends that live like they're going to remain nameless because I don't know who listens to this, but like I've got friends who live in like a communal house, and they're like, I'm the only fucking one that does the cleaning.
That's frustrating
even
too.
even that is horrific.
Yeah.
Imagine someone being weird on top of that. No, my house is my sanctuary. This is like where I relax.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I remember when I lived in a warehouse in London, and I went into like, okay, so it was a warehouse and we had 2 toilets and 2 sinks for 19 people.
No.
Like, I went into the sink, and it was like, because it's a warehouse, there was like artists living there.
Yeah.
And one of the sinks was just full up with like old chunks of clay.
No.
And I was like, I was that cunt. I sent round a group text being like, was somebody raised by fucking wolves, or do you want to clean the sink?
Yeah.
Like, everyone hated me, and I just didn't care because I was like, this place is fucking grim.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, never again.
When I moved to London, and that was an option. I feel like everyone has that option to live in a warehouse with like 20 people, and you think it's really cool at
It's not
first
cool.
because you have all these amazing parties, and you get to meet all these like cool artist type people. But then you kind of look at it, and you're like, I don't know if I would enjoy my day-to-day living there. I just want to sleep and have a hot shower.
Dude, you have to walk from the shower to your room, and it's concrete floor.
Yeah.
And you walk through, and there's just like 20 people you don't know. Because like everybody has a friend over. So that means there's like 20 people, and they're all like smoking weed or doing drugs in the day.
Yeah.
And you're just like, sup, just off to work.
Yeah.
Like, it's the worst.
It's 9 a.m. and you're off to work, and somebody's just come back.
Someone's chewing their face
strung
off.
out. Yeah.
And there's like rave music on, and you're like, I live in a rave.
No.
It's a fucking shit heap.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't do it.
Listeners,
Okay.
definitely tell us if you have weird neighbors or if you've had
Oh my
weird
God, I
flatmates.
so want to hear weird roommate
Me
stories.
too. We will definitely read
Right
them out.
in.
Yes.
I'll read the fuck out of that. Okay. My story is the killing of Matthew Borman.
Okay.
And this happened super recently, super recently. And again, didn't hear about it because basically everything is just been COVID.
Yeah.
And I also didn't think there would be much information on it, but there's loads,
Wow.
which is good.
Okay.
So Matthew Borman is 43, and him and his wife Sarah live with their 3 children in Walton, Cardiff, which is, the town is called Walton, Cardiff.
Oh.
And it's a village near Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire.
How far
and
is
confusingly, it's not
from Cardiff?
Yeah, confusingly, it's really close to Cardiff.
Okay.
It's just above Bristol, where I live.
Yeah.
So southwest, and it's on the border of Wales.
So it's not in Wales. It's in England, but it's
in
Cardiff in the name.
Gloucestershire.
That's so confusing.
I know. Don't worry about that bit. That bit doesn't matter.
Okay.
So Matthew was a really well-liked family man. He helped raise money for charity. He gardened at a hospice. He ran half marathons.
Aww.
And his friends said that he was just like a kid at heart who would fly model planes and race remote control cars. And he was really well-liked.
Aww.
Him, his wife, and his 3 kids. They lived next door to a 52-year-old man called Can Arslan. Can Arslan was born in Turkey, but he moved to the UK. He lived with his wife and a stepdaughter.
Okay.
And ever since 2013, he had terrorized his neighbors with aggressive tactics and rude manners.
Oh, no.
Which, as you know in England, rude manners. No.
No, not accepted here.
No, please. They didn't know that he had actually been diagnosed with a paranoid, unstable, and antisocial personality disorder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they thought he was just fucking an asshole.
Yeah.
So on the 7th of February 2018, it kind of all came to a head when another neighbour, Peter Marsden, who shared a driveway with him, because that's obviously with, like I said, with terraced houses, there's your front door, and then next to your front door, there's a driveway. Yeah. So you have to park right next door to your neighbour.
Right.
Can basically said that there was a scratch that he'd found on his wife's car, and he accused Peter Marsden of doing it. And this whole altercation was captured on Peter Marsden's doorbell camera. Peter said that Can had bullied, abused, and threatened his family for 12 years, but this event stepped it up. He said after the event, he sent me multiple abusive emails to my business email. He started hanging around all the time on the driveway and outside my back gate, waiting for me to get home. And he would call me a motherfucker and a cocksucker. I mean, this was like starred out in the newspaper, but I'm assuming that mother star is motherfucker, and that C cocksucker is cocksucker.
Yeah.
So he would also tell me that he was organizing a hitman from the dark web to sort me and my family out.
Oh my gosh, you can't relax in your own home.
That's just death threats.
Yeah.
So he also added, he told me he's crazy and he's murdered people before and he would do it again.
Okay,
so this is really fucking stepped up. So
yeah, stressful.
After that event, Peter Marsden said he installed multiple security upgrades to his house. He put a fence down his driveway so that he couldn't accuse him of like opening his door onto his wife's car again.
Yeah.
He got a high strength back gate, an anti-climb fence, and I think an anti-climb like they say they have anti-climb paint on like garages all around England, and I think it's that if you touch it, it leaves fingerprints and it's really sticky.
Okay, yeah.
And a new front door with no letterbox, so nobody could post anything through his door.
Oh.
He also installed video doorbells, security lighting, and an alarm system.
Yeah.
So this is in 2018. So 3 years later. On April the 21st, 2021, multiple neighbours all around the neighbourhood make complaints about Can to the police. The car scratch event was reported to the police on August 23rd, 2021.
Yeah.
And then Can was convicted of harassing Peter Marsden. So I'm guessing like he had to collect loads of evidence to prove that he was harassing him.
Yeah.
So that's why it took him a while.
Yeah.
And then that same day, Can was recorded in his back garden speaking of reckoning a massacre.
I feel bad for his family, his wife and his stepdaughter.
I know, right?
They have to deal with this.
It's not like he's going to be the nicest guy in the world at home.
No.
Surely.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so later that same day, there was another recording of him overlooking the police cars outside of his window saying, "They are waiting. They know I'm going to kill him. They are scared for his life."
Oh.
So in the next couple of days, which was April 22nd and the 23rd, there were further complaints by neighbours. And on the 23rd, the council served a community protection warning against Can, and he had an injunction against him which banned him from contacting his neighbours in any way, shape or form.
Okay. When you said that, I was like, I feel like I should feel some relief, but I don't.
Nope.
Okay.
He was like, fucking ignored that.
Yeah.
So he breached that immediately.
Okay.
So a police officer went to his house and warned him about his intimidating behaviour. Then 2 days later, between April 26th and the next month, May the 11th, there were further complaints to the police about his behaviour.
Mm-hmm.
On May the 11th, he was arrested for harassment because he was filming his neighbours, including their children's bedrooms.
No.
This is a nightmare.
Yes.
He was released and he was given bail conditions not to contact Michael and Sarah Borman, Peter Marsden, and another neighbour, a Spanish guy called Ulysses Alonso.
You know what? It sounds like he is not going to listen to that order to not contact them.
He didn't do it before, so I don't see why he's got any like impetus to do it now. So on the next day after he's out on bail, Michael Borman recorded Can in his garden making threats. So his wife Sarah said they hadn't used their back garden for more than a year because every time they did, he would shout that he knew where they were. He knew where they worked. Sorry. And he would film the children's bedroom windows. He would speak loudly about the things he'd planned to do to the family, like he was pretending to be on the phone.
Oh.
But when they looked over the fence, he wasn't on the phone. He was just shouting like he was on the phone. Yeah. So then, May the 13th, 2021, Matthew Borman made a statement to the police saying he's genuinely fearing for his safety and that of his family. Sarah Borman also made a statement saying that she was seriously worried that he would carry out the threats and they were going to be hurt or killed.
Yeah.
In response, Can said that he had been racially abused by the neighbours, including the Bormans. So on June the 6th, a month later, the council applied for an injunction to curb his antisocial behaviour. And there was a hearing set for later that June. So on June the 10th, the owners of Can's home, because it was rented, it wasn't even his house, he was just renting. Yeah, they made an application to evict him because everyone had like gathered round and said like, we need to fuck off. And they said, we're evicting you because you're breaching the terms of your tenancy because of your antisocial behaviour.
Yeah.
So on June the 22nd, a district judge issued a civil injunction against Can, preventing him from causing a nuisance to his neighbours, or he would be arrested if it was breached. He didn't even attend the hearing.
Okay.
Again, fucking pointless. June the 23rd, he hauled ass and he took a flight to Istanbul.
Oh, right.
So he just pissed off.
At least that's a little bit of relief that he's gone.
Yeah.
And they can go out into their back garden and enjoy the summer for a day or two while he's out of the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely a relief. So when the police went to his house on June the 24th to issue his injunction letter that he wasn't at the court to get, he wasn't there to receive it, which is kind of like, I was listening to another podcast and they were saying, oh, we're going to serve you. And if they can't find you to give you the papers, they can't serve you.
Yes.
So
Same
it's not
here.
in effect, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he's doing, basically. He's like getting out of the country so they can't serve him the papers.
Yeah.
So on September the 1st, still no one can still find him. So from June the 23rd to September the 1st, he's not in the country.
Amazing. Everyone had a great summer that year. Yeah.
Good. But it's kind of delaying like the inevitable because they want him to have the letter.
Right.
So his wife attended the eviction hearing.
Okay.
They were due to attend a final eviction hearing on November the 28th. So the way that it works is they say, okay, we're now giving you like so many months or whatever to find another place and get out kind of thing. They can't just go get out straight away.
Yeah.
So on September the 22nd, he finally came back to the UK. So he's been gone for 3 months and he's served with his injunction. So on September the 28th, he's officially charged with the harassment of Michael and Sarah Borman and Mr. Alonso.
Okay.
So he's got 3 charges of harassment against him. Sorry, 4, including Peter. So on the 4th of October 2021, a police officer contacted Can about the racial abuse complaint he'd made. So the policeman's calling him to say, tell me more about this racial abuse.
Right.
And during the call, Can Arslan called the police officer a motherfucker and a cocksucker. Loves it. His favourite insults.
I'm guessing that was in stars again that you were reading.
Bleeped out, but I guessed I used my noggin and I figured out what they meant. And and told him that he would sort his neighbour out himself, saying, I will murder him.
Oh, saying that straight to the police.
The police neglected to tell Michael Borman this. they were just like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
So it all comes to another head on October the 5th, 2021.
The whole thing is giving me so much anxiety.
I know, right? It's just shit heap after shit heap.
Yeah.
But you're not going to like this. Michael Borman had just parked outside his house about 5:20 p.m. after returning from work, and he was still on a conference call when Can Arslan started stabbing him. His wife had come to open the front door, and she initially thought that Can was throwing punches, but then she realised that he had a knife in his hand and he was stabbing her husband. Colleagues were still on the conference call, and they heard Michael shout, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
And Arslan replying, "Do you fucking want it?"
Wow.
Arslan was also heard to say, "You've no idea what this guy put me through," adding, "He evicted me."
Okay.
Okay, he hasn't evicted you yet.
No, and he didn't do this. You did this to yourself.
Absolutely. So he stabbed Michael Borman over 27 times.
Wow.
Apparently, like, it wasn't even fast. It was like slow and methodical. He stabbed him in the head and neck.
Oh, wow.
And that's why his wife thought that he was punching him, because he was doing it in his head and neck.
Yeah.
So during the struggle, his wife Sarah tried to drag Can off, and she got stabbed in the thigh. She's okay, though.
Okay.
When Michael was on the floor and wasn't moving, Can sat on his body and lit a cigarette.
Oh.
Yeah. Like you're in fucking prison.
I can't imagine being his wife trying to stop this, and you're going up against this man who is stabbing your husband.
And he's already stabbed you once.
Yeah.
And your kids are in the house.
Yeah. Did he die in that stabbing?
Oh, he totally died.
Wow.
Apparently, one of the kids saw the dad out of the window and
Oh.
is fucking scarred for life
Yeah.
as well. So Can then forced his way into the home of another neighbour, Peter Marsden, the guy who apparently scratched his wife's car, which he totally didn't.
Yeah.
Luckily, an off-duty policeman, Stephen Wilkinson, was passing by. So he was trying to make Can drop the knife, telling him, "Stand still now. Don't you fucking go down there. Put the fucking knife down now. Put it down."
Wow.
Despite this, Can forced the gate open into Peter Marsden's garden and stabbed him 8 times while he was sat with his wife.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
So obviously he's got shitloads of CCTV, this guy.
Yeah.
So the CCTV footage then showed them wrestling out of his home while Stephen Wilkinson was hitting Can with a piece of wood,
Wow.
trying to get him off him.
Wow.
And Stephen Wilkinson could be heard telling Peter to get inside and lock his door. After Can was forced out, he started banging on Peter's patio window with the knife, shouting, "Come out, come out," and then lit another cigarette.
Wow.
It's like a fucking Michael Myers serial killer.
Yeah. 5 o'clock in the day as well. And it sounds
I
like
know.
they're just sitting outside having a nice day after work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so good news is Peter, despite being stabbed 8 times and wrestling him out of his house, survives.
Okay.
So that's good news. And his wife is fine as well. And so is Stephen. Stephen Wilkinson got Can to leave. At this point, when he left, he was confronted by other neighbours who were, by this point, armed with golf clubs. So they got like a fucking neighborhood vigilante group and were like, "Fuck this shit.
Grab whatever you have."
Yeah, they had like weapons.
Okay.
They got him down onto the floor and waited for the police to arrive.
Okay, good. No more cigarettes for you, Can.
Yep. So he was lying on the road with his hands cuffed behind his back, and he was heard swearing at police and saying to the third neighbor, Ulysses Alonso, "You're next, motherfucker."
Okay.
Mr. Alonso told the police that he and his wife had to put up with years of conflict from Can after he asked him to park more considerately.
All right.
He said, "When I asked him calmly and respectfully to park with consideration, he was racially abusive and he threatened to kill me and kill and rape my wife."
Oh.
So that's what you get for asking someone to park a bit more considerately.
Yeah.
He's been arrested. So when Cam was arrested after killing Mr. Borman, he was filmed on body cam telling officers, "He's dead, isn't he? I warned you, the police, 1 year. Look, it happened. I was in the special forces. I warned them I was going to murder him. Ha ha ha."
This guy needs to go to Broadmoor.
Well, you say that, Rach. After his arrest, Can claimed that he had taken an overdose, but medics found that he did not seem to be on any kind of drug.
Okay.
And a psychiatric assessment found that he was alert and had no psychotic symptoms.
Okay.
So while in hospital, he was interviewed by police and made comments about stabbing his neighbours and referred to his impending eviction and his life being ruined. He said he intended to kill a number of people who were bringing legal action against him. And in a second interview, he then claimed that he couldn't remember a thing.
Sure.
Too late.
Yeah.
Too late for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So his trial began on March 2022. So that is last month.
Wow. Okay. Very recent.
Yeah, Bristol Crown Court.
Okay.
So in my ends.
Right down the street.
Right down the street. He denied murder, claiming that he should be convicted of a lesser charge of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. But before the trial, he had already admitted to the attempted murder of Peter Marsden, the guy who got stabbed 8 times, and causing grievous bodily harm to Sarah Borman, who got stabbed in the leg.
Yeah.
He also admitted a fray. He was brought to the court every day from Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital, accompanied by 6 psychiatric nurses.
Wow.
So he was put in Broadmoor.
Yeah.
2 psychiatrists agreed that he wasn't psychotic or mentally ill. However, he was diagnosed with a paranoid, unstable, and antisocial personality disorder.
Okay.
The prosecution argued that although his personality was outside of what is normal, he was fully in control of what he was doing, and he knew the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
It's like I said, here, to be deemed unfit for trial, you have to... Literally, you would have done the murder with a police officer stood next to you.
Right.
I don't care about being caught.
Well, technically, he did do that, didn't he? Because an off-duty police officer did turn up, and he continued, and the police officer had to, beat him off with a stick or whatever it was, a piece of wood. So he was continuing to do that.
It is a bit of a grey area in this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, the people that are hired to check if you are sane are hired by the defense or the prosecution.
Sure.
So they get paid to potentially say what you want them to say.
Yeah. Get the results that they want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Billy Jensen has a podcast about it. I can't remember what it's called. But it's basically about the fact that evidence given by experts in trials can be bought, basically.
Yes.
So, his defense team said that he had a personality disorder that met the condition of abnormality of mental function, and that should reduce the crime from murder to manslaughter. The prosecution said Can had faked a number of different potential psychiatric defenses, such as being suicidal, hearing voices telling him to kill, and then amnesia of the incident. So I guess the point is his story changed.
Yeah.
And that's why they're like, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
The court heard that Arslan said the voice of his childhood teddy bear told him to kill.
Sure.
But also, you've been threatening to kill him for years.
Yeah.
A forensic psychiatrist said that they were skeptical about that claim.
Mm-hmm.
And the court heard he had a grandiose and narcissistic view of himself, claiming to have wealthy relatives, gangsters in his family, and to have killed 61 people during his military service.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if that's true.
I would maybe believe the military thing because it sounded like he knew where to stab his neighbor.
Yeah. And also, I think in Turkey, military service is... it's like national service.
Required.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
In Israel, they have national service.
Right.
So I think some countries still have it, and I think Turkey is one of them.
Yeah.
So he probably was in the army at some point. Correct me if I'm wrong. He had claimed both not to remember the incident, but he also said that his violence was justifiable.
Okay.
So He said both those things. So everyone's super confused.
Yeah.
On the 5th of April 2022, which is like 5 days ago,
Yeah.
the jury unanimously convicted him of murder.
Wow.
After 1 day of deliberation.
No time at all.
Nope. He remained motionless as he was convicted. His wife and stepdaughter cried as the verdict was read out, and he blew kisses to them as he was led away.
Oh, man.
He's not a nice person.
I wonder if they have, like, Stockholm Syndrome. Or...
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, you are getting evicted. Maybe you're not getting evicted now. He's gone. I don't know. Like, it can't be a good atmos in that close.
No.
You can stay, but you murdered and assaulted half the neighbours.
Yeah.
So the sentencing hasn't been carried out yet.
Okay.
It's too early because it was only 5 days ago he was found guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So the judge said that she wanted to see a further psychiatric report prepared on him before she sentenced him. The sentencing is set for June the 9th.
Okay.
She said, in the meantime, you will remain in Broadmoor.
Good.
So on June the 9th, we will have an update.
Yep.
On
So
what happened to this guy.
He's currently in Broadmoor. Watch this space for our update.
Yeah. As a result of the police being total fuckheads, after the trial, Michael's wife Sarah called the police toothless and ineffective.
Wow.
That is a jaunty insult for their failure to act on the years of reports and abuse.
Yeah.
Mrs. Borman said that her husband paid the high price for the authorities' inability to protect the neighbours from the killer, adding that the shocking incident was not remotely out of the blue.
No.
That is fair.
Yeah.
Gloucestershire Police referred themselves to the Independent Office for Police Conduct, the IOPC, as a result of the events, and they said they are investigating the force's actions after a number of reports made by neighbours since January 2021. And yeah, he is yet to be sentenced. So
wow.
I will let you know. And that is the story of Matthew Borman.
Wow. I would say too, if you live in that area, keep an eye on your police. Keep on them. If they're not doing their job.
It's so shit. Like, domestic disputes are really a grey area.
They
like,
are.
The police are like, this kind of isn't anything to do with us because it's not like this is just like an argument, basically.
Right. And it's true. Sometimes you do have neighbors or just people in general that you just don't get along with. And when it's your neighbor...
It's not illegal not to like each other.
Right. And the police can't come out every time you have an argument or something.
It is illegal to say you're going to kill someone, though.
Yeah. Yes. To threaten someo's life.
And film their kids in the bedroom.
Yes.
And say you're going to rape and kill their wife. Like, that's totally illegal.
Yes.
He should have been in prison.
He should have. Yeah. Wow. That was such an anxiety-filled story, Talissa. Thank you very much. I still enjoyed it.
These are both nightmare-fueled stories.
They are. Yes.
This is like there's someone hiding in your attic story.
No.
Like,
no, thank you.
No. Okay. And with that, sleep well, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Transatlantic Crime this week. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at TransatCrimePod, Instagram at Transatlantic Crime, and on Facebook with Transatlantic Crime Podcast.
Thanks, bye.